To say the MCU is a big part of my childhood and adolescence would be kind of an understatement. I still remember how awesome it was when my mom took me and my siblings to see Avengers in theaters. I didn't see all of the movies back in the day, but I kept up with most of them, and I look back on the first three phases pretty fondly, especially 2 and 3. In fact, throughout most of 11th grade, Infinity War was my favorite movie ever until I saw The Matrix, but that's all from a bygone era, an era where things were more whimsical and magical. I'm gonna be brutally honest here for a second. The MCU is kinda dead to me, and has been since I saw Thor: Love and Thunder, a movie I was genuinely really looking forward to, as it's a follow-up to one of my favorites in the franchise, but yeah, that movie just wasn't it. In fact, I'm gonna take it a step further and say that nothing post-Infinity War has really resonated with me all that much. Phase 3 certainly went out with a bang with Endgame, the textbook definition of hype, but it didn't really do much for me outside of that sheer spectacle. A lot of Phase 4 I just skipped over because it didn't seem worth watching most of the time, which includes most of the shows, which aside from Loki, I just didn't see worth the investment. And out of all the 17 MCU Phase 4 projects, the 5 that I saw were things I had mixed opinions on. I thought WandaVision was incredibly interesting and had a really solid first 3 episodes, but it fell off so hard in the last 3. Shang-Chi had some great action, but is a movie I rarely think about these days. Spider-Man No Way Home was an absolute blast, but like Endgame, didn't do much to wow me outside of the spectacle. Multiverse of Madness could have been stellar if it didn't suffer from some pretty noticeable flaws, and Thor: Love and Thunder was... yeah. I'm sure Black Panther Wakanda Forever was a cut above all these, but I still have yet to see it. And as for the first of Phase 5, Ant-Man Quantumania, I just could not bring myself to care, especially with the cold reception to it. So yeah, I've certainly fallen off the MCU and superhero movies as a whole somewhat, and I'm not alone, as plenty others are burnt out on Marvel and DC properties. Sure, there are still great things worth seeing, like Spider-Verse and The Batman, or subversions of the genre, like The Boys and Invincible, but I think it's time for more original movies like Everything Everywhere All at Once, or heartfelt follow-ups like Top Gun Maverick to take back the spotlight. But that brings us to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. While I had little faith in the MCU, I knew I could at least count on this movie for a good time. James Gunn could surely breathe light into the franchise once more and get me to care about an MCU movie once more. After all, Volume 1 is easily the best Phase 2 movie, Volume 2 is a worthwhile follow-up, and even outside of the MCU, The Suicide Squad was one of my favorite movies of 2021. This was the MCU's one chance of redemption for me, and I gotta say, good job, Gunn. You exceeded my expectations somehow. It could be sheer hype, but at the time of me writing the script, I think this might be my new favorite MCU film. It's easily the best one since at least Infinity War, unless you're a Giga Spider-Man fan. Believe you me, I was not expecting this. I went in thinking it would be better than most of the MCU stuff we'd gotten as of late, but I didn't think I'd get as much out of it as I did. Now, it has been a while since I last saw Volume 1 and 2, and I didn't watch the Christmas special. I also didn't play the game, but it is on my radar. Outside of that, it's actually been a while since we last saw the Guardians do anything, with their last significant role being Infinity War. Only Raccoon and Nebula had large roles in Endgame, and they may as well have not even been in Love and Thunder. So this is really their first big adventure for all of them in over 5 years. This time around, the focus is very clearly on Rocket, but given that this is meant to be a send-off for the trilogy, the other characters do still get plenty of attention, particularly Nebula and Peter, but this is meant to be first and foremost Rocket's equivalent to Peter's arc in the second movie. In retrospect, we kinda knew nothing about his past prior to now, but they put everything on full display here, and shit gets kinda dark, actually. I've been conditioned by shonen anime to hate flashback scenes, but they do so much to strengthen the emotional aspects of the plot and characters. Rocket's arc would not be anything worth writing home about without them. And you know what? The last flashback scene even had me misty-eyed, but even without them, there's plenty to sink your teeth into. Now, one thing about recent MCU movies I have actually seen struggle with is conveying any kind of attention. Yeah, there were sorta high stakes in Love and Thunder, but the most tension I felt watching that movie was wondering if I'd be able to hold in my piss long enough while watching it. And the villains... okay, fine, Spider-Man technically had a strong lineup, and Wanda did enough shitty things to justify stopping her, and I can't comment on Namor, but do you seriously remember the villains in any of these movies. Volume 3's main villain, the High Evolutionary, may not be Thanos or Loki, but wow, they absolutely make you hate him. He actually kind of reminds me of Kefka a lot, but not as outright sadistic. Still arguably as fucked up, though. His presence and actions, combined with the grim nature of most scenes, lent this a really bleaker tone than most MCU projects. Yeah, you still got your goofy MCU movies, and, you know, it got a couple chuckles out of me here and there, but you'd be surprised how dark things can get. Of course, it's not all bad. It literally wouldn't be a Guardians of the Galaxy movie without the more lighthearted stuff, and I think it balances things out pretty well, a strength shared amongst the trilogy, as all of them have their more lighthearted moments balanced by more serious moments. It's not like Thor Love and Thunder, which had all the tension sapped away because of the attempts at so-called comedic moments. In addition to this, it also checks plenty of other boxes. The film looks a lot better than most modern MCU movies, so hey, maybe they actually gave the VFX studio some room to breathe on this one. Although my vision is less than stellar, so hey, I could be wrong. The action remains great, and as standard for the trilogy, the soundtrack is damn good. I think the last time I enjoyed an MCU soundtrack was actually Captain Marvel, of all things. Now, not everything is perfect, of course. I did think the movie started to peter off a bit. Get it? Peter. Okay, whatever. I did think it started to fall off a bit around the beginning of the last quarter, right after a pretty pivotal moment in the plot. I think the new characters, Adam and his mom, could have used a little more development, although I didn't dislike their presence either. I have some mixed feelings about Gamora's role. It's not bad, but she definitely is outshined by a lot of the other characters, and as is true of most Marvel movies, some of the humor really didn't stick the landing for me. There were some jokes I thought that were funny, and some I was a little more unamused by, although I will say it is definitely funnier across the board than most of the recent stuff from Phase 4. But all in all, I don't have much to say in terms of genuine complaints about this movie. As a send-off to this group, I think it does its job about as well as it possibly could. It obviously won't be the last time we see them, but it does mark a major turning point for all of them, and I can say with certainty that I'm happy with how everything was wrapped up. Every character's conclusion felt natural and earned, and there wasn't a single one that I really didn't care for. It was kinda bittersweet seeing the trilogy end like this, but it was also incredibly heartwarming in a lot of ways. You know, with how the current state of the MCU has been, I really didn't expect a top-tier Marvel movie out of this. Just a pretty good one. But from the opening few scenes, I knew this was going to be top 5 for the franchise for sure, and during the No Sleep Till Brooklyn scene, I felt confident and think to myself, yeah, this might be the best one. So, to go ahead and put a bow on this review, at the time of writing this script, I'm gonna give Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 a solid 9.5 out of 10, and the honorary title of the best Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. Now, in terms of what I'll be covering next, I know I did say Suzume would be my next review, but I'm gonna have to put that one on the back burner for a bit. I don't know how much longer, but give me at least until finals week is over. I don't really want to cover much else superhero related, but I absolutely do plan to give my 2 cents on Across the Spider-Verse when that hits theaters in June. With all that said and done, y'all have a good one, and take care.